Okay, so this is the final night.
Carl.
This is the final night for, before your presentation, and we have an exciting night tonight. We have Karen Hester and Monica from, good Lord, Cranberry Lane. I was looking at Southern California, that's not the name of it. And they have opened and have a very successful small business model that, you know, if you just looked at it, you just said, candy? How are you gonna keep up 2 buildings with candy? But she's got a great model to go by. I have a couple house cleaning items before I turn the program over to them. At your place setting next week, Sandy is the video queen, and if you do not want to be videotaped during your pitch, please let us know, because she will be taping unless you choose not to be taped. So that is your choice. And
Do we get access to the video?
yeah, it'll go up on YouTube, right? Sandy?
What? I'm sorry.
It'll go up on YouTube.
Yes, the whole master one, but what, I thought if you wanted a copy of it, I can get it and just have your station and be happy to email it to you, so you may want it to put on your website as a, overview of your company, your project, or have it to, next time you go in front of a group, that you can, use it to see where I need to make improvements, so whatever you want, this will be there for you.
You also put our email and stuff on this?
I'm sorry?
You can put any information you want Sandy to have about.
Did everybody get one?
Sandy.
Where's the signage?
Here. Okay, there's, okay, that is the, first piece of, right here.
That's only if you don't.
No, if you just tell us if you want it or not.
Yeah, if you want to be videotaped or if you don't want to be videotaped. Another thing that I have a question about is this. How many people in here applied for an LLC and got their name and reserved their name, but have never had any revenues from that LLC application? And when I say no revenues, I mean none.
I was close, but I got like $20.
So we have 2 that applied for an LLC and have never had any revenues. You just applied for it to save the name, basically. Okay. If you can, if we can verify that there are no revenues, that there have never been any revenues, then we can count you as a startup and not an existing business, because we've got a couple of issues with people that have had no revenues, but they applied for the LLC more than 6 months ago, and they were developing their business plan. And so, does everybody understand the question and the concept?
Yeah, so how do you want us to verify that?
Do you already have a bank account? No. So you don't even have a bank account?
No, I just wanna make sure the name didn't go anywhere.
We'll talk about it and let you know.
Okay.
You know, there's 4 of us, so we'll discuss it and let you know. Anybody else have any questions about their LLC? Because I do understand that sometimes when you get an idea, you go ahead and apply for an LLC and you get your name and all that, all that stuff because you want to be protected. So we do understand that. It's just that, if you've had revenues in the last 6 months, then you are not considered a startup. If you have had 0 revenues ever, then you are considered a startup.
Yes, we heard that.
Right. Okay.
One other thing too, don't be in a hurry after all the presentations, because we're going to draw names tonight for the order for next week for the pitch night. And don't forget Friday, this lady right here, Miss Nita, wants your business plan. You need to bring 3 copies, and it needs to be to the chamber by no later than 5 p.m. on Friday, because we've got to go take those to our judges and get those started reviewed. So
you want them in an envelope or a folder?
It's up to you, we just need 3 copies, however you wanna do it. This way, we don't see it, we'll just,
I would
we'll just put it in a bag and,
Okay.
So, without further ado, I am going to introduce our exciting speakers tonight. And please listen attentively and attentively and ask questions, because if these ladies can't tell you how to start a business and make it successful, there's probably not a lot of other people who could. So I'm going to turn it over to our Cranberry Lane ladies.
So I'm the last one to speak? before
No.
the pitch is on?
well, there's a couple more tonight, but on this session, this is our last session.
Well, that's exciting. Well, what an honor to be here. I love to do this kind of stuff. I'll tell you just a little bit about me. It says serial entrepreneur on here, and I am that. From a kid on, I've always been into business and done, when I was a kid, I had a service cutting grasses. You know, my dad had a lawnmower. I'd go around all the neighbors, cut grasses, try to make money. When I was in high school, I drove an ice cream truck. So during the summers, I drove an ice cream truck, and my very first summer selling ice cream off of a truck, the most expensive ice cream you could get was $1, and I sold $10,000 worth of ice cream that summer. So it was the first time I'd ever done it. The guy begged me to come back and do it again. I couldn't do it anymore because I was so busy. But I was in high school, and I was already the manager at Burger King. I was the class president of my class, and on baccalaureate, some folks didn't show into work, so I had to work through that, you know, so it's a lot of, I talk in a minute about work-life balance. For somewhat of up to 50 years, I really haven't had that, but I turned 50 and I said I'm going to start doing things a little different. In addition to that, I have done just about everything. I had a catering business for 17 years that my dad and I started. And we started catering out of the back of a station wagon, and then we had a couple of restaurants, and then we had the food service at the Holston Hills Country Club, and then we had an offset restaurant, and then I opened another restaurant in Whitfield, and all of this was during that same time frame. And then we started catering, and so we've catered parties up to as many as 10,000 people at a time. So, and all of that grew as grassroots business, just never advertised that catering and restaurant business at all, and it was just word of mouth advertising, which is invaluable. And I'll give you some of my kind of grassroots tips here in a minute, but those kinds of things like that, when I have always started a business, I've not done it the way that Sandy and the folks will tell you. I just have an idea and I jump in and do it. Until my last business, the Southern Churn, I opened up about 1.5 years ago. Prior to that time, I never really had a business plan or did all the great things that you guys had the opportunity to do, to come and sit in the class and to hear speakers come in and to have folks at your resources like People Incorporated and the Higher Education Center and Sandy and all the folks like this that are such invaluable resources. I never tapped into that. I never did any of that. I took my ideas and ran with it, and fortunately was successful. But now, when I do a business, I start like you're supposed to. I write a business plan and do all the things. That's drudgery, but what a great roadmap. And what a great living document to use as you go through your business all the way through. To talk just a little bit, let me tell you a little bit about the 2 stores that I have. So I have Cranberry Lane, and I've been in business about 15 years. I started in 2000, somewhere around there, and then I had a store across the other side of the street that I started as just a tax write-off in a small antique store. At the time, I was working at King Pharmaceuticals, and I wanted to do something as a tax write-off to offset that income. So I got a little antique booth and started buying items and putting them in there, and I thought, well, You know, if I make money, okay, if I don't, okay, you know, we'll write it off on my taxes. And I started making money from day one. From the first month, then the second month, then the third month, and then I went from a 10 by 10 booth to a 10 by 20 booth. And then a few months later, I said, dang, I'm gonna open my own store. So I opened my own store called Hester's Heirlooms across the street on the Tennessee side. And that became very popular. And then several years later, I bought Cranberry Lane, which was a small little tiny store, and I expanded that in. Now I have 3 stores, which is about 15,000 square feet. And it's a home decor store. We have everything from bedding to drapery to framed art to florals to gifts to a line of private label gourmet food items. So kind of a real mix of stuff, much like a country store type of mix. We do candles and all kinds of things like that too. And in a minute, I'll talk a little more about the Southern Churn. That's the ice cream and candy shop that I opened about a year and a half ago. And it's been very successful. So the platform on that is we have homemade ice cream. And it's ice cream like we used to have when we were a kid. It's the old-fashioned hand-cranked type of ice cream. So we keep chocolate and vanilla all the time, and then 6 other flavors. And we make it all there. I started that business because of such fond memories on my ice cream truck, and the joy that you had of seeing the kids when they would hear the truck run by or to get ice cream and that kind of stuff. I've always had a passion for the old-fashioned candies too. We started dabbling in that at Cranberry Lane, and then when I opened the ice cream and candy store, I really expanded that selection too. One of the things that I threw in at the very end of that store in my business plan, and I opened that store and wrote my business plan and did everything from the idea to the doors opening in less than 3 months. And right at the very end, I thought, I'm going to make homemade fudge. So I researched what you make fudge in and how you do it and all this stuff like that. And I went out and bought kettles. And I threw it in at the very end. And since I've opened the store about a year and a half ago, I've sold over 8,000 pounds of fudge. Little did I know that I'd worked my full-tail self to death making fudge. Yeah. As many of you can attest.
Fantastic.
And I brought some samples too, but I mean, sometimes I'll make 30 batches in a day. So,
She said batches.
yeah, 30 batches in a day. So, you never know what's going to take. You never know what's going to be really successful. So, and one of the things that we do at Cranberry Lane too is we really pride ourselves on a unique product mix, and that changes often. But as I mentioned earlier, you know, you've already talked about this, and you guys are already doing it because you're putting your final touches on your business plan to get them turned in. But how important that is, and what a living document that is all throughout your business, and such a valuable tool as you go all the way through. You can mark and track sales, you can do all kinds of stuff. And what a great way to really determine your competition and location where you want to be and those kinds of stuff like that. When I started the store, the retail store, literally, I knew nothing about retail. Absolutely nothing. I had to figure out where to go buy the stuff. Didn't even know where to go buy it. So I found a few companies I could buy from and stuff like this. Little did I know that there's whole entire markets that you can go to, where there's hundreds of vendors there where you can go and you have a plethora of companies to buy from. You know, I would encourage you when you're going to open your business to look for industry trade magazines and really do your research. You know, go to trade show and markets and things like that. I was able to go and to find hundreds and hundreds of companies that I could do business with that I had no idea that was even out there. So it helped me continue all throughout these years to continue to grow my business, and I'm continually doing that. In my store, I want to have things that you can't find everywhere else, that you can't find at Walmart, that you can't find at all the other big box stores. I want to make it unique and a unique shopping experience when you come, because that's what's going to keep it coming back. If some of the neighboring stores in the community get something that we have, I discontinue the line and find something else new. So we want to keep it new, fresh, and exciting. And of course, doing that, it helps you identify your target market, your goals, funding, which is a huge one, which, you know, some of the resources that we have to contests like this to be able to have the money to help start your business, to funding through People Incorporated, to so many small business loans that are available now for folks, because the small businesses like you guys are starting is what fuels our economy. It's what keeps our workforce going. It's very few of what we used to hear the large corporations doing that anymore. It's small businesses that really makes it now. Mentors, at the time, I didn't really have anybody that was a mentor, or anybody that I could pull from. I kind of had to learn most of all of that on my own. But find somebody in your industry that has a very successful business similar to what you're doing. Talk to them, gather information. You know, when you come in, to me, competition is good. A lot of people don't like competition, but competition is good. One of the things I liken it to is like the adventure marketing folks that do the whitewater trails and stuff around here. When you guys have 2 or 3 of them, that's great. You're pulling people to the area, and folks are going to go do all of those. Or breweries, when they come into town, to have several of the craft brewery houses in an area is a great thing to have, because they follow these beer trails now, and they do stuff like that. So competition is good. Embrace the competition. Maybe you guys can have different spins on the things, and, you know, pull different avenues from each other, be able to really, you know, bring folks in. It's good. It's good competition. One of the things that's really important is when you're starting your business, take your time, do it right. Hire people you want to hire. Hire people that are like-minded like you. Hire people that have a real passion or an interest in what your business is. That's hugely important, because you're going to spend a lot of time together. You know, if I'm looking to hire somebody for Cranberry Lane, I need to hire somebody that loves home decor, that loves decorating, that loves the type of stuff we sell, a primitive, colonial, country type stuff. You know, if I'm hiring somebody from the candy store, or I need to find somebody that loves children and, you know, likes that type of stuff, and, you know, really has a passion for the job, because that's the most important thing. As you're doing that, take time and make those decisions initially, and don't settle for something. You know, you'll find the right person. You know, you'll find the right location. You know, don't settle initially for sure. Marketing, you know, there's this thing called Facebook that came out. I was not into Facebook and didn't do any of those things like that. I thought, man, everybody's talking about Facebook. I gotta sign up on Facebook. So I did, and we did it just to post items for the store, and it's hugely successful for our company. We can post items on Facebook, and I mean, sometimes within a matter of hours, someone is coming in the store to buy that item. It's amazing. Not only that, we have a lot of folks that travel through our area, and we get folks to sign up on Facebook all throughout the year. They'll see that posting, and whatever item we post on there, we may ship it to Illinois or Wisconsin or wherever, you know, because they follow us even at, you know, when they go back home after they've left the store. And, you know, so it's very important. I hardly ever post anything personal. I know Sandy's got a snowblower she posted. Now, nice, don't complain about the snow if you got a snowblower, come on. That's like a toy. But, you know, so those kinds of things like that. We have about 6,000 followers now. Initially, you know, when we first started, it was hard to get people to sign up, but now it's very common and very popular. You know, you'll get folks that whatever, for the younger generation, whatever your business is like, you know, they will sign up. And, you know, there's Instagram and Twitter and all the stuff like that. I personally don't do Twitter. The demographics for my customers are a little older, more the older generation for Cranberry Lane. Probably could do it for the ice cream and candy shop and pull some folks in. we just recently signed on and started doing Instagram, and that's been very popular too. But so you can find those right avenues of social media. That's a free channel. You know, it's so exciting. That's free. You know, so those kinds of things like that. Of course, you guys are probably much more schooled in than me. But take advantage of any of the free advertising. Constantly, we have folks that come by from the newspaper or WCYB or whatever that want to do an article on, you know, maybe an event downtown. Maybe, you know, they'll come by and they're talking about Small Business Saturday and they want to do, they're doing a report, or they're, you know, some kind of event that's taken place. And nobody ever wants to do it. And I'm begging to do it because that's hundreds of dollars worth of free advertising. When they come to you and ask for an interview and you're able to get it on TV and talk about, you know, they'll often mention your store, and even if they don't, it's filmed in your store, and they'll say, we're here with Karen Hester at Cranberry Lane, and they may not even be talking about something that relates at all to my store, but you still get that exposure. You know, often the newspaper will call and want to do articles and things like that, and I encourage my fellow stores on State Street to do that, but people won't do that, and I can't understand why. It's free. My goodness. You know, we have the chamber to come by all the time, bringing guests in and out. You know, I welcome them and want them to bring them there so we can show them what Bristol's all about and to be able to help promote the store and the city as well. When the politicians come by, you know, take that opportunity to shake hands and take pictures, because they're folks that's working on their team are snapping those pictures and putting them on Twitter and sending them out all over and stuff like that. So it's just that much more free additional exposure for you guys. You know, one of the things that says find a hook and be creative. When we first started at Cranberry Lane, I said, come take a stroll down Cranberry Lane. And then I do TV advertising, and I started using that in my TV advertising. And you cannot believe at the people that will come in the store today and go, hey, I came to take a stroll. I mean, I have kids that are 6-year-old kids or 80-year-old folks coming in and saying stuff like that. I have folks that can come in and quote my commercial verbatim. And it is scary. You know, I write the commercials and do all that. The last commercial I did it in the shower in my head the morning before we were going to film. And I thought, wow, it is amazing at the power that those kinds of things have. And just that tagline and that hook, you know, I say, make it a country store kind of day. Come see us, you'll be glad you did. Now almost every commercial I hear on TV says, come see us, you'll be glad you did. And I've been doing the TV advertising for over 10 years, and it's been hugely effective. It's very expensive. It took a long time to be able to have enough money to be able to even do that. But there are additional avenues that you can use in the TV channels that is not nearly as expensive. The cable networks have where you can advertise on, say, Fox or the History Channel or HGTV or those kinds of shows like that, the Learning Channel or ESPN. You can gear it to your specific audience. Sometimes those commercials I can get for $2.50 a spot. I mean, that's awesome. You know, you can get it geared down to your general demographics. If it's Damascus, if it's Tri-Cities, if it's wherever it is, you know, you can target that in, and you can take and spend $300 or $400 in a month and get a really good reach. Where when you advertise on WCYB and those that have such a larger footprint, it's several $1,000s a month. So,
Karen, have you seen a change in the pricing over the past 10 years? Have you seen it go down?
yeah, I have. Not so much the WCYB or JHL or those main channels, but definitely I have in the cable channels because they're really trying to pull in to get more of those smaller folks advertising. But you can pick the channels. Like I can say I want to be on Fixer Upper, or I can say I want to be on, you know, the Learning Channel, whatever, a specific show on there. You can kind of target and pick those for folks that you know that may be interested in designing their own jeans or the fashion shows or something like that, you can pick those types of shows that you can gear it towards. So it's really affordable for everybody at those kinds of rates, you know. So, and brand your business, obviously, you know, we put our logos everywhere. We sell our t-shirts, we sell the hats, we do all kinds of stuff like that. I should have brought some custom bags. We customized our own bag. You know, those kinds of things, when you start your business, you can't do all those at once, but you can gradually work into all of those things. So we have folks that will take those bags. It's got the red truck on there, like the first slide you saw, and they'll save those bags over and over. We have people that cut that bag out and frame that bag. It is amazing. Oh, you're kidding me. But so those kinds of things like that is very flattering for sure. But those little few pennies, let me say, that you spend on something like that really makes a huge difference. We have people take the small size bag and they'll carry their lunch in it over and over and over till the bag almost falls apart. Well, every time they do that, it's getting your picture and your store and your name out there. I said pennies. One of the things I want to say is it is so tough in business. It is so financially straining initially when you start. And I want to preach to you and tell you to count those pennies because the dollars will add up. And I'm telling you that I twist the screws on my vendors when I'm buying bags or tissue paper or anything like that is something that it's a luxury. It's not something that I have to have. I could get a thank you bag at Sam's and put all my product in there, but it doesn't make the same impact. So I have to be very careful when I buy those things that I'm not giving all my profit away. So negotiate those prices. You know, and you'll get to a point as your business grows that you can buy in bigger volumes and stuff like that. But, you know, negotiate those things. If you can ever help it, don't pay full price for anything. Always ask for a discount. Ask for free freight. Ask for terms. There's so many things that you can get that will really help you as a small business initially beginning. Set the highest expectations in customer service. That's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on. When you come in the store, I want it to be an event for you. I want you to leave there feeling better than you did when you came in. I want you to think, wow, the music sounds great. Wow, they're happy in there. Gosh, they're laughing. They're doing this. They made me feel so welcome. I want that kind of an experience when you come in the store, and when you do that, people will come back over and over and over and over. They'll pay an extra $1 for your stuff as opposed to getting it someplace else. They'll drive further to come to your business. You know, those kinds of things are invaluable. I have stores that are located right next to me that customers will walk in their store and they'll never get up from their seat. They'll never say hello. They'll never acknowledge the customers. I cannot tell you how important it is that every time that customer comes in, that you roll out the red carpet and that you acknowledge them and that you make them feel welcome, because it's hard enough, guys, to get the customers in your door, much less keeping them coming back. I mean, and when you come in, not only do you want them to come in, but you want some of that money in their pocket. So it is important to do what you can to make them have that feeling. And be known as the best. Be the best in whatever your business is. If you're making blue jeans, make the best doggone blue jeans you can make. You know, whatever you do, if you're doing home health care, give them the best service you can do. That's the most important thing. If you're brewing beers, brew the best beer. Have the best beer, and people will come and travel to buy that beer. You know, that's so important.
I just want to interrupt and say thank you, because you're the first person in 5 weeks here that have said that customer service is the number one thing. If you don't take care of the person walking in the door, you're not going to have a business. So thank you.
Yeah. And it's hugely important. It's hugely important not only if you're a retail store, but if you're a service provider. If you're a service provider, provide the best service you can do. Whatever that is, be the best and have the best advantage on all your competitors. be the best that you can do. Not only folks coming into a retail store, not only folks eating in your restaurants, not only folks buying your juices, but if whatever you're selling, if you're selling a service, if you're a videographer, be the best one you can be. Provide that little extra service in whatever way you can. You'll think of creative ways to do it. I mentioned commercials and TV advertising, and I'll show you one here and what a powerful impact it had in one particular session here, but this is one that I did just a few years ago. Oh, hi there. Welcome to Cranberry Lane. Old Red and I just got back with a truckload of warm weather drink mixes, canned fruits and vegetables, and even moonshine jelly. Don't forget our old-fashioned candy, too. Why don't you come take a stroll down Cranberry Lane? Find that perfect furniture piece, framed art, curtains and rugs. Make it a country store kind of day. Come see us. You'll be glad you did. So it's amazing, really. And like I said, I have young kids that will see me in Sam's and take off running, just like they saw somebody like, I want to say Johnny Wood, he's a bigger celebrity. I was going to say somebody like off the Today Show or something like that. But you cannot believe at what an impact it makes on people. It is amazing. I have people that are 80 or 90 years old that said, I have waited forever to come in here. I can't drive. I don't have any family to get me here. My family came in from Ohio, and I've been able to come to the store. I can't tell you the number of things that people that have come in.
I just want to tell you something funny. My mom sits with a 94-year-old woman, and it was time for her to go to bed. And she told her, she said, now let's get ready for bed. And she said, no, I want you to get my scooter out and put me in my scooter and put that thing in gear. And my mom said, well, where do you think you're going this time of night? And she said, I'm going to take a stroll down Cranberry.
Well, I mean, you never know. I am floored by the reactions often. I'm not kidding you. And I want to tell you one more thing before I jump to this next slide. Of a particular instance in excellent customer service. We had just opened our store, and Monica does a lot of the display windows, and they had done a beautiful display window, and we had a large farm-style table in there. And this customer came by, and they saw the table, and they fell in love with the table. The lady, I'll tell you how I found out about it. It's a small business Saturday, and the store's packed. I mean, absolutely packed. And some fellas are walking through, and I'm talking to everybody and saying hi and go try the fudge. And I pat the guy on the back, and I said, hey, fellas, make sure you go try the fudge. We've got about 30 flavors to choose from over there. And he turned around, and he said, hey, he said, I need to tell you something. I said, what? He said, he said, about 10 years ago, we bought a table from you guys. And he said, you delivered it. Well, he said, first of all, he goes, when my wife saw the table initially in your display window, she cried. And so I said, I'm going to buy this table for her. I'm thinking, how am I going to buy this table? So he said, I come in, and it's Christmas Eve, and I buy the table, and you guys deliver the table on Christmas Eve to my neighbor's house. We're driving down the road again, and the guy says, my wife drives by, and the table's gone, and she starts crying again. So he said, we get up on Christmas Eve, and he goes, Christmas Day, and my neighbors had brought the table over and put it in the house, and my wife gets up and sees the table, and she cries again. So he said, first of all, you guys delivered the table on Christmas Eve. And he said, secondly, he said, I lived in New York for 30 years, and we moved down here. He said, you sent me a personal handwritten thank you note. And he said, I lived in New York for 30 years, and no one ever did that for me. He said, you will never know what that meant and what that table means to our family. So I can't tell you what the little tiny things do and what a difference it makes. So I've got a customer for life there. So let me tell you about this commercial here. So one morning I come into work and Monica goes, oh my goodness. She said, don't be upset, but you're never going to believe what happened. You gotta hear this message on the answer machine. Now, don't be upset, but you gotta hear this. I said, okay, let me hear it. So somebody at like 3 o'clock in the morning had taken the time to leave a message on the answer machine. Well, for some people, they might have been quite offended. I took it as quite funny. So I thought, this is invaluable. How can I share this with the public? So I kept thinking, I don't even know how to use YouTube. I don't know how to do this kind of stuff. So I'll play the commercial for you, or the reaction, or the voicemail, and then I'll tell you how I took it one step further.
Yeah, I don't mean no offense, don't need to come to that, you probably will after this. I think that's the stupidest commercial you got up there that was. Do you think people with any sense is going to buy the fact that that woman standing out there with that big old wrench in her hand, working on that old red truck? I think that that commercial is totally fictional. I take that for cranberry rice.
So it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and the lady left that voicemail message, and I go, oh my gosh, that is so funny. I have to share that with everybody. And I said, the best thing is, this wrench right here, I bought for $6.99 at the flea market. And I bought it to decorate a window for a huge car show that we were having downtown. So when I filmed the commercial originally, I thought, you know, what can I do to make it a little interesting? I've done all kinds of things. I've opened the door and I've welcomed them and I've done all kinds of things. What can I do? And the truck is such a big attraction of the store. We have folks that come in the store to get their picture taken with the truck and stuff like that. We've had people to do wedding pictures there. We've had people to do Christmas cards and all kinds of stuff. Prom, you name it. So I thought, what can I do to do just a little bit different? So I said, I'm going to take the wrench, and I'm going to have it when I start filming, and I'm going to open the hood and act like I've been working on the truck. I cannot tell you that last-minute decision to do that and how hugely successful it was. And I get comments from every man around saying, there's nothing on that truck that's big enough that you can use this. So, kids love it. People want to get their picture taken with it. I mean, right now, honest to Pete, I wouldn't take $5,000 for the wrench. And it was a $6.99 investment. And it was a last-minute thought on doing the commercial. And obviously, it struck some kind of a chord with this lady that she called at 3 o'clock in the morning. She might have been drinking a little, maybe, I don't know. And so I tracked it back down. She's from Saltville. I don't know who she is. But I wish she would come because I'd put her in the new commercial. But so I thought, you know, how can I let people know how funny this is? So what I did is I took my cell phone, and I had somebody to stand over there with the iPad and hold the telephone next to it so they could get that recording, and I was acting like I was hearing it right then. And so I thought, I'm going to put this on Facebook. So I put it on Facebook, and that day, 24,000 people saw it. So I said, I got to find somebody that can help me put it on YouTube. I don't even know how to put it on YouTube. So the next day, I had somebody to show me how to put it on YouTube. And the next day, another 29,000 people saw that. So in a matter of 2 days, about 60,000 people saw it. People sent it into Ellen. It went everywhere. And I'm thinking, wow, if I hadn't used that crazy voicemail that lady had. And I keep thinking sometime on a Throwback Thursday, I'm going to pull that thing back up and show everybody again, you know. But so there's little crazy things like that that can happen that you can take and use to your full advantage and really help to promote your business. And one of the last things I'll talk about, so what you need to do too is there's so many things that you can do, again, that's along the realm of free advertising that you can do to really help promote your business. The one in the top right, there was a little girl that wanted to get her birthday pictures taken at the store. And they said, would you let us take them there? And I said, certainly. So a professional photographer came in, and took pictures of this little girl for her birthday. So we were able to use some of those photographs, which was great. It didn't cost me a dime, and it was extra exposure. We have Santa to come every year. We promote all kinds of small business events and promotions all throughout the year. The one on the top left, we sell a lot of Buyer's Choice carolers. And so I had the owner of the company to come down, and he signed all of the Buyer's Choice carolers. So that instantly made all of those Buyer's Choice carolers in my cabinet much more valuable. So we had collectors coming from states all over wanting to buy those that were signed by him. I take pictures, like I said, all the time. With the truck, people come in, and sometimes it's crazy. It kind of gets a little bit of a hassle, but these people came in from England, and we take their picture. But so anytime folks come in, we get their pictures taken at the truck and things like that. So there's lots of things that you can do. Be involved in Small Business Saturday. Be involved in the 350 Project. There's tons of things that you can do to really help promote your business, and those are often free. And the last thing I'll talk about is work-life balance. As I said, I turned 50 in March of last year. I'm going to be 51. Yay! Still going. So I did decide I got to slow down a little bit. I've worked like a crazy fool my whole life, but I have fun doing it. And whatever you do, whatever your business is, have passion for what you do. You better love what you do, or I'm saying don't do it. It will be miserable. It will be much worse and much harder than punching a time clock every day. But if you love it and you're passionate about it, it's not even like going to work. It's a lot of fun. Find that proper work-life balance. Don't work like crazy and avoid your family activities and soccer with the kids and things you have to do. Make those things happen. Don't wind up like me at 50 years old and have worked like crazy and missed so many things. But find that work-life balance for sure. But know when you come into it, if you're opening up a business and you're opening up a bakery and you love to bake, don't ever think that all you're going to do is bake, because that's not it. You've got books, you've got employees, you've got schedules, you've got payroll, you've got everything else you got to do that comes along with it. So just know that, for what you're really, really passionate about, you're going to be doing that for a small period of time during the day, and the rest of your day is going to be filled with a myriad of other things. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. And I did bring you some candy and some samples of our fudge. So in the bag, we've got some samples of fudge in there and some of the old-fashioned candies and stuff like that too. I encourage you to come down and take a stroll down Cranberry Lane. Do come try some fudge and some ice cream and candy and stuff we have there. It's fun. It's fun to bring your family when they come to visit in town. It's a neat destination store, we call it. But I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Questions?
Come on, you guys can't not have any questions.
I don't have a question, I have a comment. That around the time that I was in one of the other challenges that
Yep.
some of them are serial challenges.
Yeah, that's right.
But you had spoke and showed us the video where the lady from Saltville called. I was so glad you did that, because sometime around that, I don't remember if it was before or after now, somebody called Adventure in Canada, which is my baby,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I don't understand why everybody love it. And they were just nasty.
Yeah.
And, they were terrible, and I don't know why. They said they didn't like what we were doing to the river, et cetera, and I was thinking, what are you talking about? Anyway, but I was really crushed. I cried.
Yeah.
And whenever you showed that, I thought, I should have recorded it.
Yeah.
I could have turned that around into a positive,
Positive,
and
yeah.
you showed me that, and I really
Right.
appreciate it.
Right. And when something negative like that happens, and I don't know if you got to know the person that left the message,
No.
but my goodness, let them know at what great joy you're bringing to the folks that are coming to the river, and what beauty they're able to see, and how you're enhancing the river.
Right.
And you're certainly not doing it you know, a terrible disservice or disjustice, but my goodness, at what you guys are doing, and you're bringing through tourism folks to the area, all kinds of stuff, the list goes on and on and on.
Well, and I'm in total agreement with all of that.
Yeah,
So I wasn't, I mean, I thought, you know, it's just, it was so hurtful. And,
yeah.
and my husband said, you know, he's a Yankee and everything just rolls off. And he said, I don't worry about it. Some fisherman is just mad that you got in his way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you know, we pick up trash.
Oh, yeah,
I'm trying to defend myself.
Yeah.
He says, you don't need to defend yourself. I thought next time, I'm going to record them. And I'm going to put them on Facebook.
That's right. Yeah.
But thank you so much.
You've been to one of these before?
Another cereal.
Hey Karen, any tips on negotiating with ad salesmen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you can always do when you're negotiating with advertisers is often you can get maybe a free spot, or you can get an increase in size if you're doing newspaper advertising. You need to find out what's right for you. For me, newspaper's not the thing. It's much more effective for me to do TV advertising. I've tried it all. I've done magazines, I've done newspaper, I've done all kinds of stuff, you know, you name it. But find out the right avenue for you. Newspaper is right for a lot of people. Maybe you put a coupon in or whatever, but you know, you can often get, you know, if you're doing an eighth of a page, you might get a quarter page for the same price. You know, there's things that you can get them to do, but certainly work on negotiating those rates. You can get often additional ad times. If you commit to a 3-time spot, you can negotiate 6 out of them initially, if you're doing some magazine advertising or something like that. So there's certainly ways that you can do that. And often, like, if you're able to do some of the bigger programs or the packages like through WCYB or things like that, you can get them to use your commercial as a fill-in spot when they don't have a commercial to run, you know, and it's not one that you're necessarily having to pay for. They'll just pull that commercial up and run it as a fill-in spot, yeah. So there's lots of things that you can do like that.
And it, you know, you're right, it really is easier now that there's Facebook if you have a hook.
Yeah.
When I opened the Mel Ego, you know, it was 30 years ago, and this place called Western Sizzling Steakhouse opened, and they were selling ads on their placemats. And so the ad said, if your hairstyle is not becoming to you, you should be coming to me. and it had a little teeny coupon in the very bottom corner, and I got more business off of that, you know, just because it got their attention. You know, they're sitting there
Sure.
waiting for, you
And
know.
often those types of things like that are much less expensive than, you know, and I know that our local chamber has, you know, directories and maps and things that you can get, you know, perimeter advertising on and things like that. So there's a lot of different venues that you can do. I like rack cards a lot.
I do too.
I do them for all my businesses. A lot of people don't do that, but you can put them at welcome centers. You can get a lot of good distribution with that. We put them in everybody's bag often when they check out, because they'll take it back, put it on their fridge or whatever, and they'll have it as a constant reminder about the store. So there's a lot of different things like that that you can do for sure.
And advertising is kind of trial and error, right?
It is for sure, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna find some things that'll totally bomb and you'll think, well, that's not a good fit for me. But yeah, there's so many different things that you can do. And you can often do co-op advertising, or, you know, in a lot of the publications say Discover Southwest Virginia. Maybe Abingdon will do a half-page ad, and there'll be a spot for 6 or 8 advertisers, and then you can go in to a group like that and get a discounted rate too, so.
And you know, the thing, do you agree with this as far as advertising is concerned? Even if you're so busy that you don't have enough employees to take care of your clients, then you probably ought to stop advertising for a little while until you've grown. Your employees, you have to have the right staff to be able to take care of a successful advertising campaign, or you could actually hurt yourself
You
in
do.
the
There's
in the
certainly
long
a
run.
fine line that you have to have. If you're a very successful restaurant, for example, and you keep marketing like crazy, and the patrons start coming in and they're not getting good service, you don't have enough waitresses, you can't get the food out of the kitchen in time, those kinds of things like that can certainly wind up to hurt you. So yeah, there's definitely a fine line or a balance that you have to have there. But you obviously want to continue to try to do as much business as you can, but you do have to be careful, there is a line.
And things have changed over the last 10 years. If I go into Karen's business and I'm not happy, you know, I could be posting it up on Facebook and Twitter and all of these, and that's changed customer service, which Kathy's going to talk a little later about customer service, but, you know, that is a key component, because you're not the only game in town, and if I'm not happy, and all my friends, and they'll share it with theirs. Any other questions for Karen? You just want a piece of fudge, don't you?
Hey, listen, you know, maybe some of you guys don't have a question now or don't want to speak up or whatever, but please use me as a resource. I would be happy to answer any questions or to help you in any way that I can. I'm easy to find. I'm on State Street at one of those stores most every single day. So, you know, please, if you have a question, or, you know, you'll have my email, or, you know, Sandy will give you some information or whatever, but, you know, I'm happy to help you in any way I can, for sure.
I have a question. Are you open, you're not open 7 days a week, are you?
We're at the ice cream store, we're open 7 days a week, and during the holidays, during the fourth quarter, we're open 7 days a week at Cranberry Lane. Currently at Cranberry Lane, we're open 10 to 5, Monday through Saturday.
Okay.
And at the ice cream store, we're open Monday through Sunday, we're open 7 days a week. And we're open till 8 during the week, until 9 on the weekend during winter hours, and we're 10 and 11 during summer, so.
So you are open at night in downtown Bristol?
Yep. Yep. Well, thanks again, guys. Good luck on the
I do have a question. When do you sleep?
That's still part of that work-life balance that I'm trying to figure out, and it's not often. It's not
Y'all
often.
want to take a 5-minute?
Yeah, so we can have some fun.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah, help yourself, guys. There's all the fudge and candies and all the goodies here. We'll leave with you.
One. There you go, sweeten you up.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't. Have an ink pen.
I mean, if that is an area where I got my MBA, then I wrote mine. Yeah, I did all that while I was doing my corporate job. Get into this, area where there's such a
You were trying to get.
yeah, right.
That's why I do it for the place so I can.
Everything else.
You did great. Sorry about the ride home, though.
It was just water.
Right.
And if you get to the point, I know it's hard to usually.
So if I
And that.
I don't eat meat.
It should, yeah,
But
right.
and I probably
And see with you
should.
guys, it'll be such a huge say that will travel like crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
It's good, sure. Really is. Mine was long for
I
something.
don't think I realized they were like the same.
So you've got all those on that, like.
The whole time she was talking, I said, I wonder if I can get her fudge over there, so I want, but they put milk in that. I have too many friends. I will try to sell them their ice cream. And white burgers.
Oh, yeah.
I call her my business, what I live in. I'm gonna try to sell her, the water ice cream and juice, yeah, I used to like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Good, how much is Malibu? I love her. We have just last year, but we might try again, but last year, we were so busy. We were set up to pay for lunch. We ended up getting the chips away because we couldn't make the transaction. Now we've got our kind of debt checkout first of all. And we have two people working, so one, our liability process. So, we would just start with water. With this, the rest of the county sale, but it's just they had to have it.
Anybody remember him? Anybody need one of her business cards?
Not being able to get yeah. But, so students are part of our.
Anybody need two more business cards?
They get
Oh,
checks.
okay. All right.
We want to do it, we want to, but we That's okay.
That's fine.
I just wondered if I came here about that. I'll bring it in. I'm gonna ask you, and I'll take some of your all stuff. That'll be great.
I don't know if they do it in
Yeah.
workshop into about 15 minutes, so if I go too fast, stop me, but it's kind of going on with what Karen was talking about, marketing, and to me, that is one of the most important components of any business. You can start that business, you can be great at management and operating and so forth, but if you're not getting out there marketing and always finding a new pipeline of customers, you're gonna miss out on opportunity, and that's a vital part of any kind of business. So I'm just gonna take a few moments and talk about why marketing is important to you as a business owner. Some tips to developing a marketing plan. Has anybody ever developed a marketing plan in here? If you haven't, that's something you need to consider. You've got a part of it in your business plan, but a marketing plan goes into more detail and it's something that you're gonna be following, you know, as you go forward. And it's gonna be a fluid document because it's gonna change. You know, your market might change, your customer base, and you need to be able to do that. A lot of people tell me, well, I don't have time for that. Surely you can carve out at least an hour a week to do some type of marketing, and I'm gonna talk about how you can kind of do that. And then for those of you that do not realize, the state of Virginia purchases close to $7 billion annually in goods and services, and I'm going to talk about how that can be a good market, a new market opportunity for you all, as well as answer any questions. Are you making some of the major mistakes that many business owners are doing? For example, most people get marketing wrong. When they're busy, they market less. That happens all the time. When they have time, they market more. That's not the way you want to do it. You need to always be marketing, because when you're doing it that way, you're leaving money on the table. And as a small business owner, that's tough. You know, every dime adds up. May not be this month, but the next one it will. When you're busy, you need to always be marketing, because you never want it to be quiet. Because when it's quiet, it's too late. That means your customer base has found somebody down the road, or competitors moved into town. Maybe they're offering cheaper rates. Maybe they have more to offer. I can't find anybody that offers kind of what Karen's found her niche, but that's something you always have to be doing. You don't want it to be quiet. You always want those folks coming in or calling you or connecting with you some way. You know, every entrepreneur, there's no really glass ceiling, because you always have to be out there looking for leads. And what I find many businesses fail to do is turn those leads into sales. About 3 months ago, we did a New Knowledge talking about how you turn those leads into sales. And if you haven't watched that, I encourage you to go to YouTube under New Knowledge and look for that. How to turn those leads into actual money coming in. There's a lot of people, you're working to get those leads. But people go to like the trade shows and spend thousands and thousands of dollars, or going to farmers markets and so forth. And you got all these business cards or these leads, but they do nothing with it. They just put all that in a drawer and think that's going to be, I mean, how can you get a return on investment in that? We always have to be looking for that. And do you think this is advertising? This is marketing? You would be surprised how many small business owners that I counsel with, and I ask them, what are you doing for marketing? And they'll say, well, I do Yellow Page ad. And I keep waiting. And no, that's what I do. And I'll ask, why do you use just Yellow Page? Well, I've been doing it for years. That's a great excuse, right? How many, do you track your leads from it? Do you ever get any calls? Well, I had somebody back such and such here that said they found us on the Yellow Page, but you know, the market has changed. My mother, who's going to be 85 in April, she doesn't use the Yellow Page. She gets on her iPad and looks up this thing called Google, and that's how she finds stuff. And you need to look at this. If this is what you consider marketing, you're missing out. The only time I ever use my Yellow Page book is if I've got a table that's the leg is off-centered and I need to put something, or I need to increase the height on a piece. And some of the marketing myths, do you feel like all marketing is expensive?
No.
Because Karen shared some tips on it. Do you think marketing is just a good logo and some advertising? Do you need loads of time to do it well? My business doesn't need marketing. Anybody think that? Because all of those are incorrect. You always have to be out marketing, no matter what. Even if you're at a grocery store and you've got your shirt on that's got your logo on it, someone comes and asks you, well, tell me about it. Tell me about your business. We're going to talk about elevator pitch in a few minutes, and if that's something you've not done, you need to think about that and be prepared. You're going to sort of do a extended elevator pitch next week as your pitch. But an elevator pitch is that 30-second thing that's going to tell me about your business. And you have to be prepared. You'll be surprised how many people are not prepared for that. So marketing is a necessary evil. You know, why is it important? No customers, no sales, no business. There's your math right there. Marketing is the most important activity you can engage in, seriously. Do you believe me? It is. I firmly believe that, because it's amazing how many businesses fall short on that. It's just simple. They just think that the business is going to continue coming. You know, some of you all have worked in sales for a number of years. Do you agree with me? Is that a key component about your business? So let's talk marketing. Do you believe that times have changed in how we do business?
Yes.
Just to kind of give you an idea how kind of the spending channels that consumers are now, how things have progressed over the years. Do you remember when you would get your Sears and Roebuck catalog? Especially that Christmas catalog. I loved it. And, you know, I would find that piece that I wanted, that toy or what have you, I wanted to get for Christmas, and I would circle it and I would tag it, and sometimes I would leave it on the pillow for my mom. You know, that didn't always work, but she got my point. You know, that's the way it used to be. But how many of y'all are getting catalogs like that anymore? It's not working. So that's another example of how it's changed. And then we have this thing called Google, where we watch a YouTube video. I know when I purchased my last car, I knew the make and model that I wanted, but I didn't go to the manufacturer or to the car lot. Before I made up my mind, this was the direction I wanted to go, I went to YouTube and watched videos made by folks that actually had purchased that car and give reviews. And that's how I did my research before I actually went out started negotiating. You can also follow things like on Twitter. If you're ever looking for a good deal on a computer, Dell has, if you follow their Dell outlet on their Twitter, you can sometimes find exceptional deals on laptops, computers, towers, and that you have a shorter window of opportunity that you can take advantage of it. And that's a good way to find deals. But that's one example. And now we have these things like, for example, how many of you have iPhones and use Siri? You say, Siri, find tourist destinations in Washington County. Or I'm looking for a coffee shop in Damascus. If you're not out there on the internet, Siri's not going to find you. So you're going to be losing out on opportunities. And you could be on the internet and have a Facebook page, business page. You're going to be found in Google searches. You may be uploading YouTube videos, and I hope you do that. You're going to be able to be found in Google searches, by the way, because Google owns YouTube. You know, there's even, you can snap a QR code. You can actually put a QR code on one of your, if you do rack cards, people can scan that QR code, and either A, that could take them to where they can receive a coupon and they can redeem it, so that if Adventure Mendota did that, then they could track how many people have actually scanned that. Or if it's after hours, and let's say that someone comes to you have a storefront. Do you have a storefront in Damascus? So if somebody comes and it's after hours, they could scan that QR code, and that could give them more details and what the hours of business and how they could contact you. This could, could come in handy if you have a bed and breakfast and it's after hours and somebody is wanting to rent a room. You know, that's, for me, I use my technology all the time, and to me that's easier than me to have to type in the number, is to be able to do things like that. Anything you can do to make it easier for me to connect with you, the better it's going to be in the long run. Just take yourself out of being the business owner and put it in mind into the customer. That's how your customers do it. Any way that you can make it easier for me to connect with you, you need to do that. When you're developing a marketing plan, there's two major components. You gotta be looking at your customers and your competition, and then you have to narrow it down into these four, kind of the 4 Ps, where you're talking about the product, what it is you're gonna be selling, what the price is, how much are you gonna need when you sell that to be able to not only recoup your cost, but make a little extra from it, money from it. How are you going to sell that product? You know, I was telling someone the other day about how Baby Cakes got started. You know, she was a mom that always had a dream to own her own business. And she kept giving these ideas to her husband, and he kept saying, no, I disagree. And finally, you know, through all that time, she had been making cupcakes for her family and friends and kind of build that following. And she said, you know, why can't I turn this into a business? So, you know, but she started Baby Cakes, but she didn't actually start a big storefront and do everything at once. She did like just the way with, we just carried it. Yeah. Sweetwares. They started selling at the farmer's market. It started getting a following from the farmer's market. And then she decided, okay, now I've developed a customer base. Now I want to expand more. And again, to keep her capital down, investment, she partnered with Sazzy's and rented their kitchen space a couple of days a week to actually go into a commercial kitchen and get that out of her home and start manufacturing, not manufacturing, that sounds bad for cupcakes, but making her cupcakes and selling them. Also selling them at Sazzy's. And that again, that built a following until she had generated enough customer base and saved money when they bought the old Starving Artist business. And that's how she started that. And they're still operating today. She's changed a few things. She was selling lunch and an evening, I guess a noon after school, but then they changed that and went back to just basically focusing on cupcakes. But that's kind of how you got to look at it when you're building that business. And then, of course, promotion. You got to always be looking how you're going to get the name out there for your products. And that's the key parts of developing a business plan. Now, how do you build your business model? You start out with a SWOT analysis. How many of you existing business owners have actually stepped back and done a SWOT analysis of your business? Was it an eye-opening experience?
Somewhat.
You know, a SWOT analysis, if you're not familiar, that talks about your strengths and weaknesses, which is basically part of your SWOT analysis. Strengths and weaknesses is things that's internal. These are things that you can change within the organization. It could be from your management structure. It could be from a sales structure. It could be from a pricing structure. And then your opportunities, threats, those are a little bit harder because those are usually external. That could be that, you know, something that you're working with that could be competitors moved into town that's decided I'm going to come in across the street, my prices are going to be a lot less because they have more capital to put on the table, so how do I adapt to that? But if you haven't done a SWOT analysis, I strongly encourage you to do that. That's vital in moving forward. And then, of course, the most fun part for me is I love marketing, is now my next step. And this is the key, is who is your target market? Anybody that's starting a business, that is the key. Is your target market, if you're our guy that had the garage and didn't come tonight, but let's say his target market is anybody with a car. Or it could be that I am a person that I want to concentrate on just antique cars. So I have a different target market. Or it could be I'm selling Murray Kay, so is my target market anybody with skin? Or is it women? Or, like Adventure Mendota, it's anybody that loves the outdoors. So you have to know your target market because all the other facets about it is marketing is going to go AWOL if you don't know that. And then, you know, you can even narrow it down more in your target market. Is it a certain age group that's your audience? You know, McDonald's, they know their target market. It's not the parents, it's the kids. because those kids love those Happy Meals, and if those kids want those Happy Meals, so those kids are keep telling mom and dad, I want to stop at McDonald's, the Golden Arches, and that's cause they know their target audience. You know, they always give those little gifts in the bag. It could be by age group, it could be by income levels. And now, well, there's so many different ways now that you can gather that information and demographics. You know, we had the Census Bureau at our first session talk about how do you use the Census Bureau. The internet is a great thing that we didn't have 10 or 20 years ago to do market research. You can even look at your industry. You know, if someone was wanting to put in a laundromat and they really didn't know anything about gardening, these demographics and so forth. These manufacturers of some of these products had a great demographics. They actually told her about looking at Washington County, what the population group that she needed to target and how far away that she needed to be from any other laundromat. They gave her all that information, even down to the business model of how much you want to have to invest and how much capital operating costs. So look at that. And then what kind of a message are you going to deliver? You know, you're not going to be, you know, everybody knows the dollar menu is McDonald's. Walmart, always low prices. So you got to look at, you know, what is your message going to be for your product? You know, Karen shared, take a walk down Cranberry Lane. Come and have a picture with Big Red. So you got to look at that. You remember the hat on? You remember that?
Oh, gosh.
Or headaches, if you rolled it on and you read headaches. Or Motel 6, what is their motto?
Leave the light on.
I like to do that when I make a reservation at Hampton Inns or Holiday Inn, I'll say, leave the light on, there's a flash. I just look at that. The greatest thing, how many of y'all ever said, instead of copying something, I'm gonna go Xerox something? That's brand recognition. It's just like taking a walk down Cranberry Lane. I loved it when they loaded up that lady that your mother was sitting with and take her. And then how are you gonna deliver that message? That's something you have to figure out. I know who my target market is. I know what my message is gonna be. Now, how do I deliver it? Am I going to rent a airplane and have a banner just flying around Washington County or Damascus? Is that the way I'm gonna do it? Am I gonna have a social media campaign? How am I gonna do it? That's all parts that you've got to look at. And then an area that a lot of people don't even think about is when you're doing your business cards and then when you develop your website and you develop brochures, do you have a common theme, a common look? You'd be surprised at how many people don't even think about that, because if I get a letter from you, I'm going to automatically know based on the colors and the logo and so forth who it's from. Think about that. You know, if you go to Vista Print or wherever to get your stationery and your business cards, have everything looking the same, because you want that. That's part of the branding message. And then some marketing ideas to stand out. By the way, one size does not fit all. What we do at the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity will not work for Stephen. So you got to know your niche and your target audience and how you do it. So, if you're looking at advertising, would you rather have the front cover or the back cover?
Front.
Why?
Because you're pretty easy when I pick it up.
It's in the back, because it's the last thing you see.
I never get to the back.
I say the front cover because you know why? The front cover that cost me a dime. And with the front cover, probably the center spread is about my business. And it's a whole story about who I am, what I have to offer. And again, I don't pay a dime for that. And usually for me, whenever I get time to look at a magazine, the only way I look at the back cover is it actually falls on the floor. Because I don't get to it. So when you're looking at that, that's something you might want to look at. When you have these advertisers, and trust me, when you start your business, they'll find you. I don't know how, but they will find you, and you need to be prepared and to negotiate. That's why I asked Karen, how do you negotiate? Just figure out, you know, well, y'all advertise, but can we do a story? You know, think about it. don't know why. Things to consider when you're looking again, part of your marketing is, again, kind of a recap, your demographics, what is your media sources? What markets will they run? Will they be on TV, radio, or will you have a thing on the side of your car? You have the little magnetic things that go on the side. It's amazing how many people are doing that, and they must be very cost effective. Whatever you do, will it build brand awareness, no matter what? One of the things too, when you have someone wanting to sell you advertising, don't put blinders on, do your homework. You're investing in this, find out, ask them, they should have that. What is your demographics? Who's it going to? How big is your target market? What are the age groups? All of that. They should. If they don't invest in it. Do your homework. And then, use, when you're even, Karen touched on that. She said she didn't use Twitter until just recently because of her target market. That's part of using social media, is know what your target market is. For, most of the time for restaurants, consumer goods type thing, and even service, Facebook is a biggie. But, if you're in a tourism-related business, it may be Instagram. Or Pinterest is another one, too. If you're selling something, Pinterest generates more revenue in regards to people connecting to it and looking than any other social media platform. Because when I go to Facebook, I'm just trying to see what's happening. What's Kathy been doing, putting things up about her grandchildren. If I go to Twitter, it's usually, I'm finding out what's happening in the world. But Pinterest, as I'm usually going to Pinterest to either learn how to fix something or I'm looking for gift ideas. So I'm going there with an idea with my credit card out. I'm not when I use some of the other social media. So those are things that you need to think about. Because even though it's free, you're still going to be investing your time. As you get busy, time is money, and you need to look at that. If you just put you put new batteries in it, and I don't know what happened. Another thing that's great for marketing is taking advantage of events. The chamber hosts every month a chamber breakfast. They also have networking events you need to take advantage of. We did a new knowledge last week on PR. If you missed that, I highly recommend, you can put out a press release that could get noticed and it's not going to cost you a dime. When you start a new product or a new service, there's nothing to stop you from just generating a little 2-paragraph press release and send it out there to see what gets picked up. You will be surprised, hopefully pleasantly surprised. And one that I highly recommend that has been great for me is community involvement. There are so many nonprofit organizations that need help. I've been blessed to be on the board of directors for the Mountain Empire Red Cross for the last, 4 or 5 years. That association and being able to be with those other executives that are on there has helped me tremendously. The director or the manager of the WCYB is on there to network, and now I've developed that relationship where normally I would probably never get a meeting with him, but now I can pick up the phone or send him an email and say, hey, we're getting ready to start a challenge. Could we come down and do the new magazine for the new broadcast appear on there? Or could you help us promote it? Same way with Jill Maxwell at Bristol Home Courier. Until I served with Jim on the Bristol Home Courier, I never knew him. Never had an opportunity to network with him, but then sit beside somebody, monthly or quarterly and developing those relationships. Trust me, it's an investment in time, but what you get out of that can be a big return for you moving forward, and I highly recommend that. I don't know what's happened to the... And then elevator pitch. I mentioned that. Has anybody ever done an elevator pitch for your business? You would be surprised how many people have never done that. And you know why that's important? is when you have that opportunity and you're at a meeting with somebody, that executive that's a potential customer for you that you've been wanting to get with for the last 10 years and you never could get in the door, but now you're sitting beside them at a function, and now this is your opportunity, and they say, "Hi, I'm Sandy Ratliff, and who are you? Tell me about your business."
Well, I'm a custom clothing designer, but I've got a line of custom jeans called the Velvet.
Great. You'd be surprised at how many people have never even thought about doing that, is having that elevator pitch. You know why? First of all, it takes the pressure off of you. Second of all, is when you have that opportunity, hi Cindy, I'm Sandy Ratliff, I work for the state, drive up and down the road, take orders from Kathy. But I'm not really telling you anything that I'm doing. My previous career was in industrial recruitment and economic development, and I was at a trade show one time. This is when I had to learn restraint. We spent probably $15,000 in having a booth at this trade show, and I was unfortunately at the booth at that time with an economic developer from another part of the region, and talking about a guy that was out of his element. He was. And I was kind of standing back and I just finished talking to somebody, and I watched a prospective person come up to the booth and ask, well, why would I want to come to Blake County? I heard him reply, well, I don't know, we don't have a 4-lane. You know, it's probably 2 hours, 3 hours away to go to the airport. And the whole time I could see this prospect's demeanor change, and he could not wait to get away from the booth. And I wanted to take this guy that was working the booth with me out behind the woodshed and beat the tar at him, because he was representing a region of the state, and his attitude and the way he presented himself totally took this guy out. Now, either he was not prepared, or he hadn't had somebody did something to his Wheaties, but that affected everybody. And an elevator pitch is not a whole lot. I mean, it takes 30 seconds, but you're telling me who you are, what you do, what's in it for me, and how I get up with you. And then when was the last time you did this, look up your company? You'd be surprised, again, people don't do that. And if you don't have a website, you're missing out. You need that website, because that's a business with no face out there. And we've talked about, I mean, if I'm looking for something, I'm not looking in the Yellow Pages, I'm looking on the internet, and there are ways to build a website out there that doesn't cost you a whole lot. There's Homestead, Wix is another one that you can build a website almost for nothing, starting out a real basic page, or Weebly. And if you have an existing website and you've not checked it on your smartphone, you're missing out, because if your website looks like crap on a mobile phone, the majority of people view the internet on their smartphones than they do on a computer. So however your website looks on your smartphone is how your customers, probably the majority of your customers, are looking. And if you haven't checked it to see how it works, there's a free website where you can go to mobilegrader.com, put in your website, and it'll actually grade your website. So if you're going to be doing some updates, you can share that. And then social media, 90% of small businesses are actively using social media. You know, you pick your, whatever you want, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, but know what's best for you and how you're going to use it. It's the least expensive form. You know, what do you want to post? Well, you know your product better. You can post something about a happy customer. Do testimonials, to me, is the best thing. Pictures, video. Develop a social calendar too when you want to do these. You know, a lot of these programs will allow you to schedule those. You know, on Facebook you can, or you can use several platforms that are free, like Hootsuite, where you can put up one post and you can schedule it to go out on Facebook and Twitter and one of the channels.
Sandy, out of us three, do you like anyone better than the other?
Hootsuite's one I've used. I mean, you know, how do you tackle your marketing weekly? Well, you decide what are your key activities, what you want to accomplish. And you know, this may sound crazy, but make an appointment with yourself. And it could be a Sunday afternoon. After you've had your Sunday afternoon nap, you're fresh. Is schedule everything that you want to do for the week. And make it happen. But if you don't make the time, it will not happen. And, you know, how do you do it? This is just some ideas, just write an update or a post. And again, using some of those other channels, you can go ahead and schedule stuff. I do that all the time, I schedule things. You know, I've got stuff scheduled for a church Facebook page that I do. That's probably, I'm out about 6 weeks out, I've got scheduled, because I get busy and I can do it when I have time. You know, comment on other posts, even your competitors, or, you know, a partner. If Venture Mendota did business with Cranberry Lane, I would share that and tag her in that post. I tell you what gets most hits is video and pictures when you put them up on social channels, especially Facebook. I put a picture up of chocolate Boltons the other night that I'd made. I had over 50-some people comment. It's crazy. You know, put those testimonials too. I don't ever buy anything until I go to their website or check them out. Those testimonials help me make a decision if I want to do business with that person. You can even do something like guest blogging if you have friends that do blogging. I don't have time to do that, but some people do and enjoy it. And then I talked about selling to the Commonwealth. Again, that's a $6 billion market. With the state agency, I can't just pick up the phone and say I'm going to purchase 25 box lunches for a meeting. You have to be on Virginia's electronic procurement system, which is what we call EVA. This is where buyers go and post RFPs for products, services. There's also, again, now it's really almost close to $7 billion annually. Virginia is making it more lucrative for small businesses to be on there because there's a special set aside out of that, what we call SWAM, that stands for small and/or woman and/or minority-owned business. A small business definition is 250 employees or less and no more than 10 million sales. So that's about 97% of the business establishments in Virginia. But there is a 40% set aside for businesses that anything under $10,000 has to go to a SWAM business. In addition, 2 years ago, we started a micro business designation, which means out of those set-asides, there's even more set-asides available for small business or micro business, and that's 25 jobs or less and no more than $3 million in sales. And anything that's being purchased under $10,000, when I ask for something to be purchased for me, they say, well, they SWAM certified and are they micro? Whoever does our purchasing in Richmond. And I will tell you that one of the best prospective things that when you're looking at marketing, when I'm starting a project or going in a location, this blank sheet of paper is the most intimidating thing for me. But you can go there and actually run reports on the EVA system. It's free. You don't even have to have an account. You can go there and I can find out exactly who's buying what I'm selling, which means I can find the commodity code for my product or service. Then I can go in there and run a report in the last 6 months who's been purchasing. Like I say, William Gibson, he was in our last year's challenge for maintenance on state vehicles. And I'm looking for somebody in Washington County. I can look and find out who's buying what I'm selling, what buyers, which could be VDOT, it could be the community college, whoever has state vehicles that are procuring those.
Sandy, let me ask you a question. We are members of EVA, we're registered with EVA, and we get emails, but they're always Northern Virginia or Eastern Virginia. We rarely get anything in Southwest.
On your account, do you have it listed that you only want for Southwest Virginia?
Well, no, I was advised to put the state, whole
Well,
state.
if you do that, then you're opening it up. It's totally up to you how you want to do that, or you could have it,
Well,
centered.
what I'm saying is I rarely get anything from this end of the state.
Well,
Actually,
maybe
I
it's-
haven't gotten anything from this end of the state.
Maybe it's time to go in there and run one of those spin reports and find out who's actually buying what you're selling. Or reevaluate your commodity codes too. It could be that a common mistake is people that do catering. They just put one commodity code in for catering, but do you do entrees? Do you do meat trays? Do you do event planning? Do you do dessert? All of that. So it depends on how that buyer and what commodity code they use. It could be a whole lot. And I'd be happy to help you with that. You can even do, if you want a free database of businesses, let's say in Washington County, you could actually run a vendor spin by zip code. I can put in all the zip codes for Washington County and the surrounding area, and say in the last 6 months, I wanna know every business within those zip codes that has sold something to the Commonwealth. It gives me the name, address, contact, email address, it tells me how many transactions went to that business, and it told me how much Virginia purchased. Talking about getting rid of this blank sheet of paper, now I have a target list that I can connect to. It didn't cost me a dime. You can download that, export it as an Excel, and voila, you've got your target list, and it's free. But you can go to the eva.virginia.gov and find out all of this information. I'll be happy to help you. And then what's the most effective marketing piece that you can ever have?
Business card.
Well, no, not that. One of the most annoying things that I run into, other than left lane drivers, is if I meet someone and say, do you have a business card? Especially if they're wanting to sell something to me, and do you have a business card? No. Do you know they've lost any opportunity? Because we've evidently been in discussion, and I have an interest, and I wouldn't have asked for your business card. So because they didn't have a business card, I'll forget about it. You always, if there's one piece that you purchase for your business, is having business cards, and hide them in every nick and cranny, your billfold, your purse, I've even carried stuff them into my iPad cover. But always have that, because you never know when you have that opportunity for that elevator pitch, and I garner their interest. Here it is. And if people ask you for a business card, you garnered their interest, and you're not maximizing on it. Let me give you a quick video on a marketing idea going wrong. This is, and you may have seen this a year or so ago. You know, some people do videos up on YouTube and so forth, which is great. To me, it's one of the most best things for marketing. It doesn't cost you a dime. You've already got the stuff to do a video on your purse or in your pocket, which is a smartphone. You do a great video. But here's an idea of why you need to do your research before you hit send and put it out there.
It was a textbook armed robbery. A masked suspect brings a knife into music store Tennessee Sounds. The owner points a handgun to the suspect, and the person runs out. Except for one thing, it never actually happened. An employee of owner Victor Jenkins thought the video would be a great viral marketing tactic, so a robbery was staged and put on social media. But now that law enforcement is involved, it's a mistake Jenkins would love to take back.
It has probably hurt me more than it's ever done for somebody else.
Kingsport police asked Jenkins if the robbery was real. He said yes.
That person really did come into our store with a knife. I really did pull out a gun.
Further into the investigation, Public Information Officer Tom Patton says Jenkins backtracked.
When he made those false statements to police, he in effect committed a Class D felony of false reporting.
In Tennessee, it's illegal to make a statement to a legitimate inquiry by a law enforcement officer, knowing the report or statement is false. Jenkins has since apologized to police, but it's too late.
I had already told that one lie, and one lie comes back to slap you in the mouth.
Because officers already wasted valuable time.
It was on a Saturday afternoon. Some of these officers were off on their day off and got involved, and it was really senseless.
And Jenkins knows he made a terrible choice.
Once it's done, there's nothing you can do about it. You are known for that one lie.
In Kingsport, Olivia.
This is a man that had had a long career, probably thinking about his succession plan, either selling his business and so forth, and he had this young whippersnapper give him this idea of selling this bill of goods and said, let's do a video up there. And now look what has happened to his career. Go out there, I tell people, use focus groups. You can use my sisters, trust me, they'll tell you exactly how it is if you need a focus group. But ask before you put it out there, because once you hit send, it's out there. Especially, I always tell people, don't write a letter or put anything on Facebook when you're mad. Because if you put it out there, all I have to do is do a screen capture and take a picture of that page, and I can share it with all my friends. Do it. Marketing will not fix a broken business. That's why we do things like this. You've got a sheet of mentors that if you've not reached out to some of these folks, you're missing out. They're here. Eva even talked about a friend of hers in Ohio, just envious because they don't offer anything like that in her town. like what we're offering here, to support is here. And if there's ever anything that I can do for you, Nalani, if you're wanting to explore selling to the Commonwealth, I'd be happy to help you. If you want to talk about marketing, which is my favorite subject, technology, we also have a financial lending for fixed asset financing. Anything I can do to help you, just a phone call or a click away, and here's my contact information. Any questions? You just had a 3-hour workshop and a lot of slides. Anything? Okay, Kathy, we'll talk about customer service.
And I'm gonna add to this marketing thing. When I opened the Bell Ego, I got more business from people going, what kind of place is that? And I got those same kind of phone calls that Karen Hester got. I seriously was doing somebody's hair one day, and I answered the telephone, and I said, good afternoon, Bell Ego, and this guy said, what is this place? And I said, men's hairstyling, and I could tell where he was going with this whole conversation. And he went, is that all? And I said, no, sir, we do pedicures and manicures too. And he hum-hawed around, and you know, I had that several times, but the thing about it is, if the name of your store is, you know, Kathy's Boutique, you have to spend a whole lot of time and a whole lot of money selling and developing the name Kathy's Boutique. But if you come up with something that gets somebody's eye or catchy or, you know, what, as Karen said, the hook, then you have already created a little bit of attention to your business that you probably would never have created or that you couldn't have bought, you couldn't have paid for. So here we are in the very last stretch, and I will try to send it at the end of it.
Yeah, I've got it working again. Use the, no, right. There you go.
So, Walt Disney, of course, we all know that Walt Disney was a master at customer service and marketing. And Walt Disney talks about how much attention customers, the expectations of your customers and what you should, you know, how you should pay attention to your customers' expectation. It's not what you expect from your business. And Teddy Roosevelt said it better than anybody, and I've used this almost every time I've talked to a group. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so, I don't care what kind of business you have, that is true. Whether it is retail, whether, you know, and I'll give you a perfect example. Do you like your doctor because he cares about you, or do you like your doctor because he has zero personality, but he's the smartest guy on the block? You know, it's the personality, it's the customer. You know, that is customer service. Do you care what your customer thinks? And so, you know, the great ones, as Walt Disney and Teddy Roosevelt, they have taught us something if we will listen. P.T. Barnum, actually, you know, with Facebook, you got to kind of get away from P.T. Barnum, because he said, I don't care what you say about me, just spell my name right. And that used to be true, because it would be, you know, one negative thing on a TV headline or in a newspaper headline. Now, that one negative thing, you have to pay really, really close attention to how negative it is, because it can take you down. So please write a one-sentence definition of customer service. And I'm not saying to do that tonight, but seriously, sit down and think about what your type of business is. What your, you know, if you were buying from your type of business, what would you expect as far as customer service is concerned?
Your mission statement?
Well, you know, you can develop your mission statement from that. So the definition of service is based on the customer's expectation. It may vary on the customer's expectation of your business. And part of exceptional customer service is having the systems in place to identify and halt issues before they become problems. Again, I have had people, and I had a hairdresser that worked for me once, and she amazed me. She could be 30 minutes behind, and people were sitting out there mad and fuming, and they'd come, you know, I mean, there's no barrier between hairdressers, so they'd come and just stand right behind her. She'd have a lady sitting in her,
What was that?
It wasn't me, I swear.
but she'd have a lady sitting here and she'd be slowly doing her hair, and there'd be somebody standing behind her. And they, you know, and you could tell they were just getting ready to chew her out. And she'd finish what she was doing, and she'd go ring this other person up, and then she'd get them and shampoo her hair and sit them back down. And they were like, you know, I've got something to do in 30 minutes. And she'd say, I'm sorry. And so they'd say, well, you know, something else, and she'd go, I'm sorry. And, you know, what I learned is that you can't have a one-sided argument. And so no matter what they wanted to say to her, she didn't try to make excuses and tell them why this was extenuating circumstances or why it was wrong. She just would say, I'm sorry. And it would just kill it, you know. And then, and what would amaze me is they would settle down. They would give her a bigger tip than they gave any of the other hairdressers, and book 2 more appointments so that they would have 2 appointments instead of 1. Her book was full for months. And, you know, and it was all because she just said, I'm sorry. She just didn't argue with them. Now, if you're going to give an excuse, it better not be arguable. Because people also want to know that you think their time is as important as yours. And so if you're going to give an excuse, make sure that, you know, you say, I didn't sleep at all last night because my husband snored and the dog got up in the middle of the night. You know, you really have to make people, again, whether you're selling something to them or whether they're buying an idea from you, it absolutely doesn't, it has to be genuine and not arguable. So exceptional customer service may be the characteristic that distinguishes your company from another. Exceptional, again, it has to be your definition because you are going to be the business. I don't care if you're an LLC. If it's your face, you are the business. And you have to let people know that you care about what they think, how they feel. Everybody feels something. So, you know, I mean, I can go buy a pair of jeans anywhere. I can buy juice anywhere. I can eat any kind of pork, you know. I can lay in the sun, or I can go to a tent, you know what I'm, and so how they think you feel about them is your whole brand, your whole identity. That is your customer service. So it is an equation. It's perception and expectations equal exceptional customer service.
Can I say something? I worked for the competition just in the last 2 years, and where I'm at now, people have hunted me down because of customer service. I know that I gave them, and they knew that I wouldn't tell them something was wrong, or if it wasn't right, they knew that they'd get the right answer, you know. If they weren't going to get his hand, they weren't going to go in that bed.
Right.
I wasn't going to put them in there and take their money.
That's exactly right. And honestly, never, ever, ever lie to your customer. Ever. If you have to just say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, say that. Never, ever lie to your customer because, again, there are too many ways that you're going to get tripped up in that. And one dissatisfied customer, and I read this in a statistic somewhere, one dissatisfied customer will lose you 10. One satisfied customer can gain you hundreds. And when I first started the Male Ego, it was me, and frankly, I started it because I couldn't get a job, you know, in a one of the more popular hairstyling salons in town, because I didn't have the experience. And so I knew how to do a good man's haircut, and so I thought, okay, you know, I gotta pay the rent, so, you know, was the whole purpose behind the whole thing. In 1 month, I had to hire somebody because I couldn't answer the phone and do hair. And, you know, I grew into a 7 hairdresser salon, and we added a gift shop because I thought, well, if they're already here, they need to buy something, you know. But I didn't have a lot of startup money, and so there are certain businesses you can go into, and you can actually make a business successful with how much you care and how much you let them know you care. Y'all like these pictures, Sadie did this. But honestly, expectations is a belief that something will happen or is likely to happen, and a feeling or a belief about how successful or good something is, again, comes from how the experience your customer has with you. So, perception, we all know what perception is. The secret to perception is this. Is it your perception or is it theirs? Because customer service is theirs. I can perceive that you like me. But if I'm trying to sell you something, you have to perceive that I care about you enough to as a guest hairdresser said one time at a hair show, that lady's got my money in her pocket and it's my job to figure out how to get it. You know?
Hit your button.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're only boarding rows 9 and above right now. You'll have to wait.
I'm in row 8.
Please step aside, sir.
It's just one row, don't you think it's okay?
We'll call your row momentarily. How do the crescent rolls and you do the cranberry? You know I can't cook.
Okay, well, can I please you on hold real quick while I check the knowledge base? Alright, thanks.
Step aside, sir.
Excuse me, I think you forgot my bread.
Bread, $2 extra.
$2, but everyone in front of me got free bread.
You want bread?
Yes, please.
$3. No soup for you.
Could you tell me about some of your phones, please?
Okay. See that one over there? That is a phone.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you tomorrow then. Gobble, gobble. Oh, bye-bye.
Sorry.
Wait, did I see how it is? Yeah, that's Christmas.
Thank you for waiting. We'd like to continue boarding the aircraft now. We're now boarding all rows, please. All remaining rows. Hello. Enjoy your flight.
Now, this is, you know, I think you all have probably seen this movie, but these are really great examples of good and poor customer service. I can tell you for sure, I will never fly US Air again because of something kind of like that. They cancel every time I have to fly from Charlotte to Tri-Cities. If their plane's not full enough, they say it's weather, they cancel the flight. You have to buy a hotel room and spend the night in Charlotte if it's the last flight. I had a US Air card that had like a gazillion free miles on it, and I could have gone anywhere. I'm like, nope, I'm done. I am not doing this anymore, you know. And so the telephone thing. If you have somebody, or you have a storefront that's a walk-in storefront, and somebody walks in, and you're on the telephone, and especially cell phones. I used to make my hairdressers put their phones in their pocketbooks in the locker room, and it was fine with me if they took a break and answered a phone call or a text, but those telephones were not sitting beside their stations. Because I brought this up for notes, but if you notice I had it turned over, you absolutely, we are so connected to these things that as soon as they start buzzing, we're going, like, what if I'd answer that, you know? And I'm telling you, it offends people. Have you ever been waiting in a long line of people, and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and you get in and you get up to the person, and they are on the telephone that just rang. And so you have to wait for them to finish talking on the phone after you've been waiting in line. And I have not, I've turned into not quite as nice of a person as I was before I was 59. And I have said before, excuse me, I have been in line a whole lot longer than that telephone call. So do you mind if you take my business first and put them on hold? And they'll go. You know, like, it doesn't occur to them, which is amazing to me, that it doesn't occur to people that they're trying to get my money out of my pocket into theirs, and they're just disrespecting me and my time, you know. And time is the thing that people have. Yeah, and time, and it's the customer service thing. Time, you know, that's customer service is how you treat your customers and their time, because they have the same amount of hours in the day. That's the one thing that we all have the same of. 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, that one thing. And so if you're disrespecting her for him, then, you know, it's just an obvious thing that puts people off. And I don't care if you make my hind end look better than any other pair of jeans in the earth. I'm not buying them if you've not given me some good customer service.
I think that's a challenge.
It takes a lot to fix, yeah, that with jeans.
I think she's bullshit.
But anyway, 4 steps to quality customer service is send a positive attitude toward others. You have to sincerely believe in your product. You do have to sincerely believe in yourself, in your ideas, in the reason you're there. You are not only there to make money. You were there because that was your passion. You're not in a small class of entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs because you think you're going to make a gazillion dollars off of it. You're there because this is a passion that you know, that it's something you wanted to do. It's something dear to your heart, something you have felt somewhere way down in your soul. And so the one thing you don't want to do is let your passion die. You know, you just don't. So identify and provide for the needs of your customers, guests, or clients. Pay attention to your customers. That means with communication, and be grateful. When I started the Male Ego, Emory and Henry College was off on Wednesdays. They did not teach on Wednesdays. And so annually, these guys would come down that were in the fraternity, and they made these blotters that they gave all students when they first checked into school, August the 1st, I'll say. And they had ads on these blotters. And so, shoot, if your hairstyle's not coming to you, you should be coming to me on those blotters. And those guys would come in droves. They would carpool down, because like one would have a car and 5 would ride. I made sure that their shampoos, were, I did scalp massages, I learned how to do straight razors, face shaves. Man, I might not have 2 people walking the door Monday or Tuesday, but on Wednesday, there weren't enough hours in the day. And so, you know, I figured out that 5 o'clock wasn't late enough for me to be open. And I'm gonna tell you this about certain businesses. 9 to 11 sometimes dead time. 11 to 7, however. From 5 to 7, I was so busy that I couldn't wait for the clock to get to 7, you know. So you have to find the hours of the day. If you have something for sale and you're the new kid on the block, you have to find the hours in the day that caters to the people that can't get to Blackbird Bakery. You know, if you close at 5 o'clock, you're competing with an already established business. So, you know, make sure that you are making everything you can do convenient for your customer.
On that note, I remember going to a coffee shop, or trying to go to a coffee shop in Clifton Forge, Virginia. It was on Main Street, and this was at 9 o'clock in the morning. Would you not think that a coffee shop would be open at 9 o'clock? Well, they don't open until 10. Well, I've already had my fill of coffee. But that's an example, and by the way, they didn't last very long.
I'll tell you another thing I had. I had that saying on a pocket comb. And because, you know, men don't like, there were certain things that you learned men didn't, you know. They don't like bulky stuff. They don't like bulky wallets. They don't, you know. So I had this little pocket comb that would fit in the back of their jeans or in their shirt. And it had this little saying on it, it had the phone number on it. If your hairstyle's not becoming to you, it's becoming to me. One of the guys that took the ad off of that blotter finished Emory and Henry College. And he was kind of a nerdy guy, but I was, you know, he was smart, he was interesting, he, you know, and so we talked about whatever it was, you know, he wanted to talk about, because that's the other thing. When a customer comes in, please don't say, hey, how are you today? And they go, I'm all right, how are you? Because that's generally the salutation. I'm all right, how are you? You go, well, I tell you, my kids have drove me crazy. I haven't been able, and so you start talking about yourself, and the customer's going, good God. I just had a screaming argument with my kids, and I don't want to hear about it. You know, talk to them about them. Don't talk to your customers about you. Talk to your best friend about you. Talk to the guys at the bar about you. Do not talk to your customers about your problems. Let them talk about theirs. Let them talk about themselves, because you will hear what they want from your business if you will let them talk about themselves. You will hear what they want. And, you know, again, you're there to sell them something. So anyway, I talked to this guy forever. He graduated and went to law school in Richmond. And he came back after those 2 or 3 years in Richmond, and came back to the salon, made an appointment with me, and pulled that comb out of his pocket. He had carried that comb around with him for like 6 or 8 years. He is still one of my very best friends, Mark Graham. So, you know, you are never going to be able to gauge which customer is going to make the biggest difference in your life. And I can tell you, I had customers that walk in that door and you thought, man, they don't have anything going on. You never know about that. You know, you never know about that. It'll be that very one that you ignored that could have made the difference in your business and in your business practices. So 93% of a person's opinion of you has nothing to do with what you say. That is a fact. It has to do with all the other things. You know, I'm sure at some point in time, we've all done the Myers-Briggs test, but that thinking and feeling thing, you can be the greatest thinker in the world, but if you're selling yourself or your business, you need to think about being a feeler for that customer. Of course, we've already talked about the telephone, and I just cannot stress enough. Be respectful. Don't, you know, Richard Rose says when you start at barter, if you've got a cell phone, you know, please turn off your phone or what, you know. And he also says, and if you have candy in a wrapper.
Oh, dear.
He does. So it depends on the business. If you're outdoor adventure, man, it's Katie bar the door, you know, put on your boots, put on, you know. So, you know, it all depends on your business, but you start to learn your customer type and, you know, build on that. If you start getting people that are saying yes to you, that are happy to be there, man, build on that. They're telling you what they want. Again, you know, and we keep saying this because whether we're saying target your market or identify your customers, you know, it's all the same thing. You have to constantly answer the who, what, where, when, and why of your customer. Not of what you want out of your business. It's what the customer wants out of your business. And you know, reevaluate yourself. Don't get stuck on some business plan. If something's not working, figure out why it's not working. Ask. You know, I noticed you really didn't like that fudge very much. What is it? What was it about the fudge that you didn't like? Ask them. They'll tell you. They want to tell you. They think you care. You know, and you really should be caring about that. So ask what, you know, just ask. The only thing you get from asking is an answer. The things that you get from not asking sometimes are right, no customer. So pay attention to your customers. Again, be ready to listen, take notes. Don't act like you're listening. When that phone starts buzzing, you go. I'm telling you, it makes a huge, huge difference. The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply. That's a fact. You know, and I catch myself doing it. Those two ladies came in here and I knew them as well as I knew, you know, my name. And I had to go up there and say, what's Karen's sister's name? Because I wanted to say hi, how you doing, what's going on. But I needed to get up there and do that. So I wasn't listening to, you know, to understand. I was listening to reply. Oh, great to see you. Thank you so much. Always say thank you. And that, you know, our parents taught us that when we were 6 months old. Always say thank you. Thank you for your business. I really appreciate you coming in today. It was so nice to have this group of kids. This is the cutest group of kids I've ever had, you know, in Adventure Mendota. Just say thank you. And mean it. I mean, you know, you can always find something. I can always find something wrong with any situation. And then I go to what's right with it. And you know, you really need to, again, in business, think about what's right with this situation. This lady was mad, but man, her hair turned out good, so she got, you know, and I always, if I was late, I was almost never late, but if I was, I always went, I am so sorry. I promise I won't be late on you the next time. You know, here, have a bottle of shampoo or something. I mean, seriously, you know, let them know you really care. Again, do what you do so well that they will want to see it again and bring their friends. That's what customer service is. You don't build a business, you build people, and then people build your business. Any questions? Very good. Great.
Kathy, I know everybody's probably wanting to go, but there's one thing, and one of our challenges, you said something and it resonated with me, and it's part of my business expansion because of what you said. Can you just touch on point of sale, how important it is, and why it's so important with our demographics in this part of Southwest Virginia? Because we don't have that many people.
Right, and so you've already got that person in your business. You've already got them there. You're talking to them about what they like, what they don't like, you know. You've already heard what color, in the hair salon, it was either what color lipstick they wore, or what their wife liked for Christmas, or, you know, where they were taking their kids, or whatever. So I started listening to that. And so I thought, okay, for the men, I'm going to buy gifts in this gift shop where they can do a one-stop thing. So number one, I had gift cards of all kinds. Thank you notes, happy anniversary, happy birthday, you know. I had all of those cards because I could make it at least an extra $2 off the card, okay? And so then I'm like, okay, what's the one question people ask me the most about? So anytime I was talking to them, I always told them why it was the most important thing that they put on their hair was shampoo. Because that's the first thing that hits your hair after the water, and it's the one thing that either makes your hair fluffy and beautiful or flat and straight. And so I always talked to them about shampoo. So I always had very good shampoo, and there was a variety of, you know, for curly hair, for straight hair, for thick, you know, thick hair, whatever. But all you have to do is say, is there anything else? Do you want to try? And again, it's just a question. Would you like to try this shampoo today? I'll give you $1 off. Hell, they'll buy it. Then they'll say, well, what about it? Honest to God, they'll go, well, what kind of conditioner would you use with that? You know, and so, again, all it is asking a question. And so, don't let people come in, pay you for a service, because I'm going to tell you something. There's 8 hours in a day. 10 maybe, if you're, you know, if your business is running pretty well. But as Karen said, you run out of steam if you don't start prioritizing your time. So there's 8 hours in a day. For me, on a man's haircut, I can get 3 in. Then you take 1 hour out for lunch or 30 minutes out for lunch. And so 3 times 7 then was 21. And I figured out how many haircuts I had to make to pay my rent for the month. And, you know, and there weren't enough hours to do that. And so I had to start finding things. I mean, you know, whatever you're selling, you're usually going to mark up 100%, which is going to give you a 50% margin. So if you paid $2 for something, you're going to mark it up to $4. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm making $12 off this man's haircut, but I just made $10 off the shampoo. You know, no time, no extra time. So find things that you can sell that they want, that you're genuine about, that doesn't take any more time. You know, so, you know, you can kill, as they say, 2 birds with 1 stone in that whole time thing. Anything else?
I just kind of want your opinion about something because it comes back. This is David. No, seriously, I had a customer who comes to my store every time we're open, and he's precious and he wears a cowboy hat all the time, and that's just George. He and his wife come and they're costumed together like they're just beautiful. So on this one particular night, this woman came and she came to the counter and she said, "Could you tell the man in front of me to take his hat off? I can't see the show." So in an instant, I had this idea, and I thought, I've never met this lady before, but George is at my show every week. And I just told her, I said, "I'm really, really sorry, but I will ask George to take his hat off." And she wrote in my book, it's the only negative, we have a book that everybody signs when they come in, and it's the only negative comment I've ever had, and she said, I'll never be back because I was treated rude about the man in front of me with the hat on, and I just wrote a note under there, and I said, that was George, and, let it go, but that's how I feel
Did
about
she
it.
come in
Well,
after or before?
She's never been back.
I know, but when she came, did she come before George, or was he already there?
Oh, no, he sits in the same place, and she came after, George came after her, but he always sits in the same place, but.
Well, you're always gonna have situations that you're gonna have to make a judgment call on.
George pays your bills.
That's what he said.
Again, in that situation, probably I would have said, you know what? I hate to ask George to move because he comes every week, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get your chair and I'll make another row. Or, if you think fast enough, you can go, and if you can't think fast enough, here's what you do. Let me think about this for a second and let me see what I can do for you.
Yeah.
And take just a minute not to react, because if you're reacting with your own feelings, because you love George, that negative, it may have hurt, may not have hurt, but you're never gonna know if it did.
I hugged her when I said, ma'am, I'm
Right. When somebody says something, and I don't follow my own advice on this, I'm just telling you, I know this is the right thing to do. But when somebody says something that you're gonna have a negative reaction to, sometimes what I do is I'm not answering you because I'm trying to think about it, and my husband will say, "Did you hear me?" And I'm going, "I'm thinking." But seriously, you are going to have to, there's always going to be those customers, and it's not going to be once in a while. It's going to be daily. Because I got to tell you something. People are right here, right now. People are instant gratification. We have raised, our parents didn't, I'm old enough to go to the other generation. They didn't raise instant gratification because they were war babies. But this is an instant gratification society. So the best thing you can do is go, let me think about this just a minute and I'll get back with you. And just, walk away.
Tell
for a
George
minute.
you might have to get him to move his hat every now
Yeah.
No way.
So, and that was a great segue into something, and so I want to bring this up. I told you all in the second week that we had certain things that would come up that would be extenuating circumstances, and we would have to make a decision on those things based on those circumstances. We have had to make 2 or 3 decisions on extenuating circumstances. One of them had to do with our makeup day. One of them we just talked about tonight. We haven't decided how we're going to find the answer to that question out, but we, that people have forewarned us or asked us of things. We've tried to stick as closely as we could to what our rules and, everything says in the guidelines. But we've got a couple of those grants that have other stipulations. And so hopefully you have gotten everything that you need from this. I hope that you are all very successful. And if you do or don't win, you're still a winner and you can still continue to participate. We hope to, we think we already know that we've got the funding for next year. So if you don't win this time, come back next year.
We'll be here.
The very first year, we only had 1 award. The next year, we had 2. This year, we've got 4 because of the way they're laid out. And we actually had enough money to give some 2nd and 3rd place prizes. So,
And we never had private sector awards either before
Right.
this year.
Right. And so, we want to help you all, and we want to do the best we can do for everybody that's here. So hopefully this has been a good experience for you. I do have one question that we'll talk about in the group. And I've noticed this at many business challenges that I go to, but you have 8 minutes, so you have 8 minutes to give your pitch. Do you want somebody to, when you're giving your pitch, just to go 2 minutes or 1 minute or whatever? Or is that or do you just want to talk until somebody says that's the end? Because I've seen it go both ways. I've seen people get so flustered when they got that 2-minute warning that they lose their place. So, you know, as a group, we're gonna have to kind of figure out, do you want that 2-minute warning, or do you want a 1-minute warning, or do you want no warning?
I'd say 2 minutes.
I like the warnings.
You do like
We experienced, and I'm here challenge people like them.
Cause you can't shut us up.
1 minute, you've got enough time to summarize or.
Yeah, that's a very.
So we got 2s over here, mostly. We got a one, so would you be okay with a 2-minute warning? Okay. So what we're gonna do then, is you've got 8 minutes. At 2 minutes, the hammer. She'll be standing right up there, and she'll just do it too.
I'll probably have a colored sheet of paper and give you the 2 minutes.
But try not to get flustered. You know, just realize that that it's time to start your summary.
Are other people allowed to come in and listen to your pitch?
You can bring anybody and everybody that you want to. I'm actually gonna try, I've gotta work on this, but, we're trying to get, you know, like the local TV station in Bristol, of course, they were already there. Did the Bristol Business Challenge, if you all saw that on Saturday.
Yeah.
I walked in the room, I knew one of the judges, I knew some of the people that had contributed and all that stuff, and the vice mayor of Bristol was there, and my brother-in-law was competing. And I thought, oh God, if that judge had have realized that, you know, that could have either hurt him or helped him. And so my brother-in-law started toward us, and I went, nope. You know, and so I just looked at my husband and I'm like, tell him not to come over here and talk to me. And so, you know, we didn't. Thank God, my brother-in-law won. So, you know, my point is this. Don't, you know, who are the judges?
Oh, gosh,
Jim Swartz?
Andre Wilcox from the Kingsport Entrepreneurs Center.
Jim Schwartz from Highlands Union Bank.
I have to look at my list, I've got too much
For,
data.
are you talking about coming up
For the pitch.
for the pitch storm?
And the reason I say this is, if you bring somebody that knows one of these pitch night judges, make sure they don't talk to them. Make sure they don't really know who you are. You know, I was shocked. I kept going, oh God.
I'm gonna go around and take your number while we continue talking.
Are the judges here, or is it gonna be at the?
We'll be here. We're not gonna move you all. We decided to keep you all in one place and stay there.
Okay, can we have the podium?
Yeah.
By the way, if you're gonna be doing a PowerPoint,
Well, this
you
is a
bring it on the
podium.
flash drive,
Very good.
or email it.
This is the
Can we
podium.
tell the judges?
Yeah. Or if it's too big, put it on the Dropbox folder and send me the link. Nita.
Can we put it on that thing that y'all gave us, that little flash drive?
Yes.
If we're gonna have one.
You have to
I'm
read it.
gonna respond to my technical person, Sandy. Do you want them, if they've got a PowerPoint, to put it on their flash drive?
Either flash drive, or they could email it to us, or send us the link if they've got it on
But it's e-bus service. This is the podium.
Great. Remember last, I was nervous, I think it was there, but I didn't know it, and I need something anchored, because you said, or, Sandy said, don't move around, and Mike said, I was like a kangaroo.
Okay, the judges,
Here's the judges.
Richard Dahmer with Emory and Henry
Okay,
College.
so Richard Dahmer with Emory and Henry College.
Roger Leonard with, as a consultant. Andrea Wilcox with the Kingsport Chamber of Commerce. Jim Swartz with Highlands Union Bank.
Okay. So that's pitch night judges. So, you know, just
Their bank account.
try
Okay, do y'all wanna share what number you got, or do you wanna put your name on the back of the number I gave you and just give it back to me?
That's
How
a
do
great
y'all
idea.
want
Right
to?
there.
What?
On the back of the.
Okay, okay, if you'll put your name on the back of it, and I'll be back. Right, little thing, and pick those up.
Where the judges be sitting?
They'll be right here.
Right here?
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
right here.
they'll be, at this table. And you will either be here or you'll be over here. Now, here's something else, and we offer this every year. If you want to come to the incubator and try out your pitch and see how long it takes, please do not wait until that night and think that you can give that pitch in 8 minutes, because I gotta tell you, it is to put every idea that you've got in your head about this wonderful business that you're gonna have. It is so hard to do the beginning, the meat of your business, and the summary in 8 minutes. Please, please, please practice your pitch. We had a contestant one year who has gone on to get funding from a venture capitalist that he had an app. His pitch was so far above everybody, he didn't have any explanation in the meat of it, that he got one of the lowest scores. And the guy is, he is, the investor that invested in him.
He was in my group, I think, our group. He was really nice too.
He just didn't practice his, he didn't practice his pitch. He practiced it with each other.
Are we doing all of them in one room?
Yes.
So all of us be in the same room at the same time,
Yes.
listen to everybody's pitch.
Yep.
You can or you don't have to.
We don't have a green room.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, my question is, if you bring it in on our
Flash.
stick, our flash drive or our stick, and you put it in, you guys use a remote control up there, correct?
You don't have to, you can press the remote and
But we can't use remote control.
you can.
Okay, that was my concern, was
You can.
I'm not good at this.
I've given lots of demonstrations and I've taught, and I had to do it in a certain amount of time. If you'll script or write your presentation out, and then you can, put in your where your PowerPoints are, if you want music and all, anything in it, then that way if you'll talk and then pause, just like you would, and just read it for a long, long time and then try to do it without it, it'll give you a pretty good, time frame.
And the difference in your written business plan, and I'll tell you this, the difference in your written business plan and pitch night is this. The judges on pitch night are gonna be asking you logistical questions that historically they have. We don't provide the questions. Such as, how much, what's the price point of your cupcakes? And you say $3.50, and they go, well, have you considered, like in Damascus, have you figured out how much a square foot your building's gonna cost and how many cupcakes you're gonna have to sell?
Just like you're saying,
They're cash
So is that
flow,
after
don't
your
worry
8
about cash
minutes?
flow.
Then they ask you questions?
You do your 8 minutes and then they have questions. If you haven't answered something that they wanna know if you've thought about. The one I watched in Bristol the other day, this girl was great, and she had a really great product, but it had a low price point, and so that meant it had a low profit margin, because if you're selling something for $3.50, that means that you probably got $1.50 profit margin, so you have to have a big capacity. And there wasn't enough people in the area to keep her business afloat. It was a great idea, but if she'd partnered with somebody, she'd probably, if she had answered the question that the judge asked, which was, are you gonna take a space inside of another business? I won't divulge who all it was, but are you gonna take a space inside of another business? You're gonna have your own space, location. And she went, well, I'd like to have my own location. And every one of those guys that were sitting up there, they all just went, I could see them. They didn't shake their head no, but I could see, because they knew that she wasn't gonna be able to sell 2,000 $3.50 items every month.
So how many questions do they ask you?
There's not a
We
lot.
give them, again, we've got a lot to cover, so we only give them maybe a minute or two to ask those questions. And honestly, it'll be based on your presentation and what they didn't get out of it. If
Right.
I've judged a number of these, and sometimes that whole 8 minutes, I still, after they're finished, I'm not clear exactly what they're trying to do, and you have to ask that question, or it could be the banker or whoever may ask, well, how did you come up with your performance, or, you know, we don't know. It's like, you know, it just depends on.
And they're not gonna grill you, they, you know, I don't mean to say that. They're not gonna grill you, they're just gonna say, well, you know, like.
We're just trying to get clarity of what you're
Right,
trying
right.
to present.
Right, and again, your business plan has twice the score as your pitch. So pitches is important, but it only has 100% score. Your business plan's got like 220 or 200
And that's Friday at 5:00.
at the Chamber of
That's
Commerce.
right.
Right. So your business plan, this is called the business plan challenge, not, you know, business challenge, and there's a difference. Some of the business challenges are concepts, your concept plans.
Where do we drop it off at the Chamber of Commerce?
That they're, when you go in the door in the government
It's right
center,
there, okay.
We're on the lower level,
place there on the
Probably on the
Can't miss
phone, on the lower level, right?
Yeah, the booth that's sitting there that looks like a reception desk, that's them.
And remember 6 copies, and if you wanna do.
Three copies.
I mean, 3 copies.
See, that's what she does to me, she makes me do things twice.
If you wanna put them in individual envelopes, again, we don't see any of the plans, all we do is put them, separate them by the name, if you'll put the name on each, then what we do is put them in a bag, and then we're out delivering these to the,
So the judges do not need here to pitch night, they don't need
no,
okay.
They do not need your business plan.
And will you explain that the business plan judges are not,
we've
covered
talked
that.
about that.
They are not from here. You will, that none of them will recognize your name. They won't know your daddy or anything.
So the panel's different from the.
The panel's different from the judges that judge the business plan.
Okay.
The executive summary, the salutation, do we make it to Washington County Chamber of Commerce judges? You know, when you make, you know, it's kind of in letter form,
Yeah.
or do you have to
I mean,
have the
I
same?
Yeah, I don't think that. I've never said, hello.
How are you? Adele?
Right, you just,
Any more questions? We're not trying to be, but we want to give you all the answers that you want to. Pretty much if you can answer all that for that people in the room. Okay, so you bring your reference to time.
the facts, the most important thing is you really want to get it But that's what PowerPoint will have too, if you have a graph that will say.
See before that.
Okay. I told my other,
So that's gotta go out.
Sometimes
early.
statistics
are better, you know.